Yo, what's good, people? Today's video we're going to be breaking down how I put together this sample. And we're going to be flipping it into this. So we're going to break this down into parts. The sample was made in Logic, and then we'll flip the sample in FL Studio. So quick rundown of the sample. So essentially we've got some chords in there, we've got some sort of movements, some textures, and a guide on bass line. So let's break down what's gone into this. So started off with a pad, by the way, working at 143 BPM. So I knew from the jump I was going to flip it into some sort of sexy drill, which is around that BPM range. And yes, what my progression is doing with this patch from Polymax. It sets the vibe straight away, nice and moody. And yeah, so I've then layered it with another pad. So took that same MIDI, copied it over to this patch, and Polymax again. But I've gone for something a bit brighter. And when it's played with the first pad, it sounds a bit bigger. Moving on, I did this plucks just to have some movements. But yeah, without that for me, yeah, the chords just sounded a bit too static. So I'm adding this movements just it's gonna help with the drums when I add that in. Processing wise for the plucks, started off with this reverb. And just turning down some low frequencies so it's not muddling up the mix. Then added a crystallizer by Sound Toys, just to add some granular sort of delay vibes. Just adds even more movement. Yeah, followed by a shaper box in pan mode, just to make this move from left to right. And yeah, together so far. So at this point, the main idea for the track is done, really. It's all about textures, and I'm just keeping things interesting because I didn't just want this loop repeating all the way through with no changes, which is where the textures and whatnot comes into play. So for a lot of this, I was using arcade, which I think is where this guitar comes from. So here's what the guitar is doing. It's got a bit of reverb on there as well. And with what I've had so far, and found this other guitar part. Processing wise, just added the phaser. Just to give it sort of that washy R&B effect. And also added the reverb as well. With the other guitar. And arrangement wise, it's just alternating between just what I had before and then this added parts, and then just goes back and forth. Now in the second half of the 16, also have this bass line, again using Polymax for this. And in context. Yeah, at the start of every 16 bar phrase, this sample is 32 bars long. I've added this trumpet. It's just a one hit, and here's what that's doing. Nice and simple. But then we're processing, so got EQ, got a little gain. Mainly reverb and echo is what's giving it that vibe though. And yeah, it just helps to reset the vibe. So in context. So yeah, in the second half, I've got these flutes. In the context. And it just helps to break up the sample a little bit. So the second half is not the exact same as the first. And there's some sort of like progression going on. So just to get everything sounding nice and cohesive. My pads and my plot, I've grouped them together. And on the boss, I've just added a phaser. So without. And with the phaser. Just helps to really emphasize that sort of R&B vibe, and just adds a bit of texture as well. And that's pretty much that in terms of the sample. Just got a glue compressor on the master, just to tie things together. And at this point, I just exported it and brought it into FL. Right, so now we're in FL. First thing I did with this sample was I sent it to a mixer track. And then on the mixer track, it's just got an EQ, so taking out some of those low frequencies, some mids, a little bit of highs as well. And I'm adding kickstart just to give it a bit of movement. And I've also pitched up the sample by 3 semitones as well. Yeah, so this was in the original position. And then pitched up by 3. Yeah, by cutting off those frequencies in the sample, it just gives a lot of room for other instruments to exist in. Because I know I was going to add some additional bass, obviously some drums as well. Now let's break down the drums. So yes, them solo. Cool, so let's go through the sounds. So start off with, I believe this counter snare. Loads of space. Playing with velocity and panning towards the end, just to keep things interesting. Then moved on to these toms. I've got about 3 of them. So here's what they sound like going back and forth. Some more counter snares. Some snaps. Some more snaps and some more percussions. enough percussion. Like an impact sound at the start. And lastly, this sort of like Jersey funk hooks. And that's pretty much that in terms of the drums. Actually, one last thing, stomps. How could I forget? So that is the drums, right? So with the sample. Who then added a Reese bass. So I've got two of these. So a different one for the intro. And yeah, different one for the verse. So same notes as what you heard in the sample breakdown. And those gaps really helps with the groove as well. And yeah, I've also sent this to a mixer track. And on the mixer track, just go on EQ, just stick now a bit of those high frequencies. Just to help it tuck into the mix a bit better. And add a riser to go into the next 8. And then the following 8, swapped out the Reese for this sort of like plucky synth bass. Because the bass line is very, very simple, so switching between sounds really just helps to keep things interesting. Yeah, so these two are pretty much similar. So in the next 8, what I've then done this time around is added some lock drums in the second half. Cool. Following 8 again, another change in bass line. And this time we've gone for some spins 808. And program this in triplets just to give it a different vibe. As far as bass line goes, that's pretty much it for the entire tune. And yeah, it's just alternating between those 3 bassline patterns. And yeah, just some more effects like impact sounds. So this, which I think happens every 16 or so. And that's the entire beat. Let's have a listen. Yeah, that is the end of the video, guys. If you got some value from it, as usual, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.